Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Oh, come on! Roseanne dressed as Hitler! Guys, this photo is not in the spirit of internet goofs. Also, it's from 2009. Everyone's been saying it's so brave of ABC to cancel their biggest hit show. But the bold move was actually putting this lady Hitler chef back on the air in the first place. So kudos to ABC. It takes a lot of courage to fire someone after they've been openly racist for the 1000th time.
I love her. Michelle Wolf, everybody. Michelle Wolf. Yeah, and see, that is the whole problem with the Roseanne thing, is that Roseanne was a Hitler chef. If you didn't see, if you're just listening and you're not watching, Roseanne was dressed as Hitler, standing in front of an oven with a baking sheet of burnt people-shaped cookies in 2009. And they did the Roseanne reboot. Isn't that something? And now all of a sudden, oh, we had no idea that Roseanne the person is a lot more offensive than her damn TV show, which wasn't funny. And that's what I said about it when it first came back on. And I told you where it was going. She was going to have an oxy problem because of that scene with her and Dan sitting at the table, not being able to afford their prescription drugs. Thanks, Trump. I mean, it's so, but as offensive as not being funny when you're a comedian is, the person Roseanne is even more offensive than the damn TV show. She's more offensive than anything on TV, and I include Fox News, which, by the way, because down there in Central America, I am relegated to Fox News. I get up like super early in the morning because the sun rises there at like 4 a.m. And so you're up. You're just up. The jungle comes alive and the howler monkeys, and the toucans with their yeah. See. I now know what I've always known what a toucan is, so the whole jungle. So you're awake, and the only thing that's on the damn TV is Fox and Friends for news. That thing is unwatchable, and not just because they lie, and not just because they defend Roseanne, and not just because they twist the truth, and not because they said they rely on free speech. To cover for her hate speech, to cover for her racist tweets about Muslims and Planet of the Apes and African. Listen, here's a little rule of thumb. If you find yourself tweeting the words Planet of the Apes and you're not seriously discussing the franchise, back off. You're about to ruin your life. I mean, seriously. This is unbelievable. But I mean, she is copying Trump's capacity for hatred and for racism, and she just turned out to be a very offensive person. And what's really interesting is Tom Arnold, who was married to her and who knows Donald Trump and her for more than 30 years, was not surprised that this is how it all ended. So I want to play you 2 short clips of Tom.
I had a feeling this was going to happen when I first heard it was coming back, that there was a reboot. And
you thought this might happen? Why?
Yeah.
Because she's crazy.
When I heard about her politics, I knew she was when I read her social media in the very beginning, and I saw how she was so into the conspiracy stuff with Donald Trump, and so how far gone she was, and the Pizzagate, and Hillary's a pedophile, and Obama wasn't born here, and she was, a birther, and how crazy that was. I just knew that this would not end well.
But it gets worse. when Anderson Cooper asked Tom Arnold about the apes and the Planet of the Apes and the because this is not the first time she actually compared human beings to apes, and those of us who don't have our heads in the sand understand that has been a pejorative, that has been a term that white supremacists and racists have used to minimize and to dehumanize African Americans for a really stinking long time. Okay. And she has done this before. She talked about somebody having, a black person, I forget who it was, because she's attacked so many, of having swinging ape balls. Okay. Things like this. I mean, there is nothing new about Roseanne and the monkey thing and white supremacists, using this. And Tom Arnold tried to drive that point home just a tad, just a touch.
This monkey thing is something she's tweeted before about black people.
Yes.
Why is it okay? It's a meme that she and thousands of her alt-right fans do. They love calling black people monkeys. It's not a one-time joke. Okay.
Yeah, she said something about Susan Rice a couple of years ago, referencing. Well, no, but
there's more. Look on her tweet. They do it because we have a white trash racist president. That's
Bingo.
a fact. That is Donald Trump is, and Roseanne and I both known in 30 years. That's an absolute fact. And instead of saying Donald Trump going, "Okay, everybody, hold on together," he says, "Oh my gosh, what about me?" That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, when Tom Arnold is the sane one in the room, you're fucked. Just saying. And so, of course, on the Fox News, they were showing this clip over and over and over and over and over, trying to make some sort of a comparison between a comedian who was trying to draw attention to the fact that this monster of a president who has brought forth this Nazi policy of separating mothers from their children in front of the mothers, putting their children in cars or putting their children in vehicles and whisking their children away, and the mothers don't know. And this is happening. I tweeted this a month ago. That they had lost, that HHS had lost about 1,400 kids. It was actually closer to 1,500, but I didn't want to overstate, okay? So I said 1,400. On my Twitter feed, you'll go look at Randi Rhodes, and you'll see how long ago I tweeted out this story about this separation of mothers and children and who were coming here to ask for asylum. These were not border jumpers. These are not rogue elements. This is not MS-13. These are people who are fleeing rogue elements. These are people who are fleeing places where we are literally funding death squads. Seriously, and when you leave this country and you start to see international news, you find out that those death squads in El Salvador are funded by American dollars. Those are American weapons. Those are American AKs. Those are American guns that we shipped over to El Salvador. And that in Nicaragua, they had a bad election. They had a fraudulent election. And the students who were attending the engineering university in Managua, in Nicaragua, were protesting a rigged election, a dirty election, a farce of an election, and the students were peaceably protesting, and the freaking death squads were called out with shoot-to-kill orders, and they killed 100 students. You want to know? Everybody, oh, they're border jumping, they're coming. No, they're coming here asking for asylum because their government is killing them. Their government is shooting the students. Now, of course, here in the United States, we shoot each other and we leave the government out of it because you're Republican and you pull yourself up from your bootstraps and do your own killing. Very sick. But you want to know why people are asking for asylum? And they are asking for asylum. They are not border jumping. They are turning themselves. Some are coming. One woman was coming from the Congo. She came by airplane. And they removed her child from her and separated her and her child. This is sick. This is real Nazi crap. And we're not supposed to call him a Nazi? Oh, please. If it looks like a Nazi and it smells like a Nazi and the burnt cookies are shaped like people and you're loving everything Nazi, then it's a Nazi. Ridiculous. So anyway, they're showing this. Now, so remember, Samantha Bee did this show to urge Ivanka to, because she's a senior advisor to the President of the United States, and she urged her to talk to her dad about this freaky Nazi-like immigration separation. This isn't even immigration. This is asylum, refugees. This is asylum seeking. And she used a word. Okay? A word. Now, you could say it's a bad word, but, you know, if you ask Donald Trump, he has no problem with this word. I'll show you. Before I play, you've seen Samantha Bee a million times, right? Okay, let me show you the difference between a real atrocity, which is trying to tell a joke that's not funny, and Samantha Bee.
The Today Show is my home. Every week it's Today Show. And I go and I see Katie or I see Matt. Matt took some pretty good abuse. Do you agree with that? You didn't take any abuse. But she was never here. She never came to one of these roasts. And she said, Jeff, what's it like? Is it nice? Is it funny? And the first word she heard was the word cunt. And she said, is it going to continue? And it only got worse. Is that right, Katie?
He said that to Katie Couric in a public setting at a microphone. All right, then. Let's tear a new ass for Samantha Bee.
Ivanka Trump, who works at the White House, chose to post the second most oblivious tweet we've seen this week. You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you. Put on something tight and low cut and tell your father to stop it.
Do you see how one was offensive and the other one was funny? Yeah, I get it. You know, we're also sensitive to this word, which, by the way, in some circles means, you know, Sally Field got this, I think, exactly correct. Sally Field tweets, God love her, okay? My mother can't figure out a one of those, you know, jitterbugs, okay? She can't. But Sally Field, she's on Twitter, and she said, how dare you call Ivanka Trump a C word? C words are powerful. C's are nurturing and warm. How could you call Ivanka that? So, but they're all sitting there trying to say that there's some sort of moral equivalence there because Samantha Bee made a funny joke about a meaningful issue about separating mothers and children who are asking for asylum, fleeing their countries where their children are literally being gunned down in the street by the authorities, okay? By illegitimate governments, by authoritarian governments that are in El Salvador. It's supported by the United States of America. The money is flowing into El Salvador to just shoot to same in Nicaragua. Bianca Jagger was on TV, not that you saw it because it was on international news, begging people to understand what's going on there.
I was at a university called the University of Central America, UCA. And across the street from that university is the engineers university. And while I was visiting the dean of that university, who's been persecuted, we began to hear shots and we began to hear mortars, and we came down and I went all the way to the area close to the other university where I could see what was happening. And first we saw the paramilitaries who arrived, the Juventud Sandinista. And then the population came to support the students who were inside, barricaded inside the engineers university. And there was a moment of calm. But then they sent on the anti-riot police. But the anti-riot police are coming dressed. And some of the police has AK-47. Some have
AK-47.
Weapons of war. And they come on as if they go into war. And the most shocking thing to me when I saw that is that they coming to shoot and to kill the students who are unarmed and who are determined to be fighting a civic, non-violent revolution in this country, have no intention in any way, who use violence against the Ortega regime. And why is that happening? And for those people who cannot understand the difference of having young people who have been the victims, who have been the ones who have been killed. So far, we have 85 people who've been killed. There is at least 900 or 1,000 who've been wounded. There are many hundreds who have disappeared and who are in jail. And this continues, and it doesn't seem to stop. We need the international community to speak up. We need the leaders from Latin America who speak up. We need Mr. Almagro, who is the secretary of the OAS, to speak up, because Mr. Almagro gave the seal of approval to the elections in Nicaragua, the elections that were not real, elections that were stolen from the people in Nicaragua. So now it's his turn. What is happening?
So you understand why people might be fleeing. You understand. The government is killing them. Okay? So that explains Nicaragua. El Salvador, we're arming death squads, and they are just in the middle of the night they're just killing people, and it's an American-funded death squad. Isn't that something? Isn't that special? So if you think that these people who are peaceably coming here, walking and sitting on top of trains loaded with scrap metal for mile after mile with their children, some as young as 18 months, some as young as... One of the babies that was separated from their mother was 53 weeks old. You know what that is? That's 1 year and 1 month. 1 year and 1 month old. And they took the baby. They took the baby. They took an 18-month-old. This is sick crap, okay, that this president is doing. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.